The Florida Gators are likely adding to their wide receiver room in the high school class.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast and Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast and on YouTube. Happy Friday. I am Brandon Olsen. Find me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Also find me here later today, immediately following the Florida Gators game against Tulane in the Gasparilla Bowl. We will be going live at the end of it. Last time for football this year. Hearts breaking there. Today's episode of Locked On Gators is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. And yesterday, news started swirling, or I guess we could say maybe late Wednesday night, news started swirling that five-star wide receiver Dallas Wilson, who, take you back for a second, leading up to the final weeks before signing day, when Florida started really building momentum on the trail and adding kids, in that time, Dallas Wilson was a long-time commit to Oregon. There started to be some genuine traction with him potentially flipping from Oregon to the Florida Gators. Then we hear, night before signing day and the morning of signing day, it's like, all right, well, feels like Dallas Wilson's about to be a Florida Gator. Then he goes on stage and announces his commitment to Oregon, to the surprise of basically all of us. And then now, yesterday, Dallas Wilson officially requested his release from his national letter of intent, his NLI, also LOI. He requested his release there from Oregon, and Oregon gave it to him. And also, if you were paying attention on late Wednesday night at like 1:30 in the morning Eastern time, which I didn't even realize it was that late until I sent a message to our subtext group. And they were like, I just got woken up by this text. I was like, honestly, didn't even realize it was like 1:30. But Oregon On3 writers started going, oh, yeah, Dan Lanning's backing off here. That means you lost. And then reports started coming out yesterday evening that Dallas Wilson has been released from his national letter of intent. Reports started coming out that Dallas had the paperwork done all week, and it just took until Wednesday, Thursday to actually fill it out, submit it, and get that done. But it's over. And the thought is that the reason he requested that release from his national letter of intent with Oregon was so that he can commit to the Florida Gators, sign with the Florida Gators, be an early enrollee is what the expectation is, which I think he's allowed to do because he signed during that first period. But also, it's just like it's just such a weird time in college football now, where I don't think it matters. Like, he signed the letter of intent, and a couple weeks later, backed out. Which also, by the way, I do think this is important to acknowledge. This would be around signing day right now. This would be around actual signing day if they hadn't moved up signing day about 3 weeks. So this would be actual signing day right now, which, I mean, makes sense. Kid is making his decision right now based on that timeline. I digress. But he is likely coming to Florida. And also, I saw this on Twitter, and I saw someone asked about it in our Locked On Gators Discord, where they're like, oh, isn't there a 48-hour cooldown period? No. There's not a 48-hour cooldown period from when someone is released from his national letter of intent to when they can make a decision of where they're going. You can do that instantly. I think it was DeAndre Robinson last year, signed with Texas, asked for the release, and then came to Florida right away. And Dallas Wilson, a similar situation there. He does not need to wait 48 hours. The 48-hour thing is from the time he submits the paperwork to request his release from his NLI that the school has 48 hours to respond to it. Similar to when a player submits the paperwork to enter the transfer portal, the school has 48 hours to submit them into the transfer portal. That's why when a kid can fill out the paperwork the day the portal closes, and the day after the portal closes, and the day after that, you will still see names entering the portal, because that's when schools officially submit the paperwork. They usually publicly announce it the day they fill it out, like this. And like this, Oregon could have waited 48 hours before they released it. But again, Dan Lanning waved the white flag and allowed Dallas Wilson to leave. He's expected to be on campus this weekend following the bowl game. And I know that everybody was kind of looking forward to when he officially got released from the NLI. Basically, everybody was like, oh, the Florida Gators are getting the commitment from Dallas Wilson right now. And it didn't really happen. I believe that this is a timing thing that we see frequently. I think they're going to either do it halftime or right after the bowl game, or wait until this weekend when they have more people on campus, because we know Florida loves to do that. With they get kids on campus, and then they like to have momentum changing moments there, which I don't blame you for, right? I have no issue with that. I think that's a fine approach to things. But Dallas Wilson, who we haven't talked much about, but he is just, this kid's the elite of the elite. 5-star receiver, just one hell of a football player. Go up and get it. He's listed as 6'2". He's listed as like 6'2 3/4. He's like 6'2.5", 6'3". Just an elite vertical spacer, vertical stretcher. Like, I loved his film. I remember when Florida played Ole Miss, that's when the rumors really started about, hey, like, this is legit. Dallas Wilson could flip it at any time. And I was away that weekend, so I pre-recorded a video for Dallas, and I was just like flipping out. And we will be going live whenever Dallas commits, if I'm home to do so. But Dallas is an immediate impact player, genuinely. Like, I know that, you know, we've talked a lot about portal kids. I think Dallas Wilson's a high school kid that steps in right away and is an immediate contributor. He gets downfield. He creates separation. If he's not creating separation, guess what? He has no problem going up and getting it. You could look at the videos of him in like OT7 camps, and he's some kid, a corner lined up against him. I don't know who the corner was. Corner lined up against him and goes, I fear God. And Dallas goes, I don't give a F who you fear. That's the kind of confidence that we're talking about. He is very confident, very talented. That true alpha that we've been saying, oh, this receiver room needs an alpha. This receiver room needs a guy that can just go out there and win one-on-one and win jump balls and do all that. That's Dallas Wilson, okay? Even if he doesn't do a ton of it in his freshman year, that's still him, okay? Like, that's still what he brings to the table. That's still the kind of player that he is. And I think that he's going to be just an elite weapon for the Florida Gators for hopefully 3 to 4 years. Did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions that you forgot about or that you were paying for twice? Definitely happened to me. It was Apple TV. I had 2 accounts on it. Happens, right? Like, I didn't even realize that I had 2. It just happened. Rocket Money made it so easy to track them all down. It's like having a personal assistant for your finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitor your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It brings everything together in one place. So whether it's subscriptions, your spending habits, or even the goals you want to hit this year, Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of 500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 per year when using all the app's premium features. For me, again, subscription tracker helped me cancel Apple TV that I had twice. I had one student one and then one non-student one. And so that I obviously canceled the more expensive one. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions to reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon, rocketmoney.com/lockedon. And the Florida Gators season is over. I mean, if you're listening to this early enough and you can get to Tampa and you want to go get tickets at the last minute, Game Time is the place to do it, right? Game Time's focused on togetherness this holiday season. So that means when you bring people together at live events, the experience is so much better. And look, maybe it's not the Florida Gators, right? Maybe it's any other team near you. You can go catch their bowl game and get last-minute tickets cheaper with Game Time. And Game Time is the only place I used to get tickets for shows, like games, whether it's sporting events or anything else. Shows, concerts, theater. Went to see Wicked in person. The play. I'm not going to watch the movie. I'm not going to lie to you. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets to Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. Use code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account. Redeem code Locked On College for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's Game Time, baby. The Florida Gators late last night landed the commitment of UCLA wide receiver J. Michael Sturdivant out of the transfer portal. And man, I love it. 6'3", 205 pounds. He gives you the size that you're looking for, and that's something that we've talked about so much. And I talked about it last night because we did go live when he committed at basically midnight. But we did go live when he committed to talk about the commitment. And I wanted to explain, because I know that there's so many people that go, oh, like, I don't care about saying, hey, you need big-bodied receivers. I don't care about this, that. Here's why I care, because I generally am not the one that I go, hey, like, I need the speedy guys. I need this, I need that. I generally look at it and I say, well, when you have a big-armed quarterback, because obviously you want to add talent for what you need, and when you have a big-armed quarterback like DJ Lagway, he is going to make more aggressive throws downfield, and he's going to make more tight window throws. You need receivers that have large catch radiuses, which J. Michael Sturdivant does, and I'm always going to call him J. Michael Sturdivant. I'm never going to go J. Mike. I might say Sturdy. We may go Sturdy, but J. Michael Sturdivant has a large catch radius where he can go up and get whatever ball. You can throw a curl to him. You can throw a comeback. You could throw a dig. And as long as you throw it where he extends his arms, no DB is making that play. Okay? Even if it is an incompletion, like, that's fine for me. Incompletions, not interceptions, right? But if you can throw it, highball it, J. Michael Sturdivant's going to go get it, right? If he's running a dig and you throw it in front, J. Michael Sturdivant can go get it. No DBs coming from behind him to get it. Hitch, no one's getting it out of that wingspan. So J. Michael Sturdivant, great addition for me in terms of his skill set. He's the kind of guy where that's why you need the big-bodied receivers. You have a quarterback that's going to throw tight window throws. You need to be able to make contested catches. You need to be able to make catches in traffic. Okay? So that's how I look at stylistically. We talk about the good additions out of the transfer portal are guys that are proven productive players at their previous spot, because all that alliteration. Proven productive players at their previous spot in their previous season, or guys that just finished their first year. J. Michael Sturdivant, not that part. He's been in college for 4 years, but when we look at the production, he's got weird production, right? As a sophomore in 2022, he had 65 catches. This is at Cal. He had 65 catches for 755 yards, 11.5 yards per catch, 7 touchdowns. Then he transfers to UCLA, 36 catches, 597 yards, 16.5 yards per catch, and 4 touchdowns. Then he goes to UCLA he stays at UCLA for another year, 22 catches, 315 yards, 14.3 yards per catch, and 2 touchdowns. And so his production dropped off every single year, right? Not awesome. But context matters. UCLA's offense was horrendous this year, okay? Near the bottom of the Big Ten, which is not an offensive conference. Like, I'm not saying there's not good offenses in there, but the Big Ten is not an offensive conference. And UCLA was at the bottom of it. Eric Bieniemy fired after 1 year as the offensive coordinator at UCLA. Wasn't a good showing, right? Wasn't a good performance for the offense. They had quarterback issues all year. which I thought that their quarterback situation was actually going to be pretty decent. I'm not going to lie to you. We have the shades on because, one, I just finished the live show after Sturdivant committed. And two, we got to commit. We're talking about the commit. We're going to wear sunglasses when we talk about the commit, okay? But UCLA's quarterback situation was also just completely terrible. I thought Ethan Garbers would be way better than he was. It was just bad. It was just bad offense. It was just bad football in UCLA. And so that's why I have a hard time faulting J. Michael Sturdivant for the drop-off. When Florida first started looking into J. Michael Sturdivant, I was reaching out to a UCLA source, and I shared with the Subtext Insiders, and I shared with all of you that what I received about J. Michael Sturdivant was basically saying, hey, we screwed up. Like, we dropped the ball here. He should have been in the NFL by now if we didn't mismanage him. We had no idea how to use him. It was just horrible, terrible, no good, very bad. Like that was the sentiment. And also, he dealt with injuries throughout the year, but played through them, but dealt with them. That maybe limited his effectiveness. Not surprising, right? But he still had those games where you kind of see what he can do. He had the Minnesota game. He had 7 catches, 107 yards, 15.3 yards per catch, and a touchdown. USC, 5 catches, 117 yards, 23.5 yards per catch. No touchdown in that one. But you look at what he's been able to do, and when he gets thrown the freaking ball, he's pretty productive. He is. It's a matter of not getting the ball to him, having, we'll say, risk-averse quarterbacks. Like Graham Mertz would not be throwing contested catches to J. Michael Sturdivant much, right? That wasn't what Graham did. Graham's looking for the safe throw. DJ Lagway, he'll say, F it. Someone's down there somewhere. I don't even care who it is. I'm going to throw it to a receiver if they're downfield. And so bringing in a J. Michael Sturdivant, that helps you a ton. That helps elevate your offense. And what I've been trying to harp on is you need needle movers. Because right now you're at a certain point, if you're Florida, where you're in your championship window. You have DJ Lagway for 2 more years. He's got experience now. Obviously not a full season of experience, not all that, but he's got some experience where at least you're not like, okay, hey, this is a true freshman. We're throwing him into the fire. That's not a concern. This is your championship window. Get needle movers. Get J. Michael Sturdivant. Finish the Dallas Wilson flip. And I'll tell you what, go get Jonte Cook. He's supposed to be on campus this weekend, right? Go get him. Take him. I don't give a damn about anything else. Stack talent at the position. Figure out the rest later. And that's what you can do. J. Michael Sturdivant, the first offensive player in the portal to commit to Florida, the first non-special teamer to commit to Florida in the portal. Great addition. I like it. And again, we have our general guardrails of proven productive player at his previous position, at his previous spot, or young guy, J. Michael Sturdivant, productive way previously, but not in the previous season. Obviously, not young guy there. But guess what? Those are the guardrails. It's not to eliminate things. We look for outliers here. J. Michael Sturdivant is an outlier. That's why I like the hire. That's why I like the addition. I'm cool with it. I like it. You added talent to your receiver room. You improved your receiver room. And the Florida Gators could have one of the most talented receiver rooms we've seen in a very, very long time. We'll talk about some other portal targets for the Florida Gators when we get back with Locked On Gators. It's that time of the year. The college football playoff is back, and with the newly expanded 12-team format, it's guaranteed to be bigger and better than ever, bringing you all the hard-hitting and high-flying excitement that you love. TNT Sports coverage of the college football playoff begins December 21st, tomorrow, starting with the college football playoff kickoff show presented by AT&T at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, leading into our first matchup, the SMU Mustangs battling the Penn State Nittany Lions at noon Eastern Time. Then the Clemson Tigers look to upset and will fail to upset the Texas Longhorns in a showdown at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Don't miss a moment of the action. Watch the college football playoff presented by Allstate live on TNT, TrueTV, TBS, and Max. And if you are someone who watches Locked On Gators, appreciate you, first off. But also, you will see that I am frequently wearing Florida Gators t-shirts or long sleeve shirts, or I mean, you won't see, but I'm wearing Florida Gators sweatpants and shorts. You want to know where I get all that stuff? It's homefieldapparel.com. The most comfortable Florida Gator shirts I own. I wear them outside of recording as well. I just wear them just in my everyday life. I just wear them. And they have, by the way, more colleges than I've even known exist. They've got, I think, over 200 colleges now with homefieldapparel.com. If you went to Pepperdine, you can get some Pepperdine gear. That's right. That's what we're talking about. Homefield Apparel, wide variety, fantastic quality, and you can use code GATOR24 to save 15% off at homefieldapparel.com. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day we are available daily and free, representing the podcast and on YouTube. And the Florida Gators have shown quite a bit of interest in a few players recently. We will start with the guys that are expected to visit. And the first one is Rahtrell Perry, an offensive tackle from Central Connecticut State. So FCS team. This is the proven production, looking to take a step up to the next level and make that next step. And again, FCS team, he's not facing elite talent. He's not facing just tremendous players throughout. And also, I will say this, it does matter when we talk about who you're playing with and next to. We saw how bad the Florida Gators offensive line was when Damian George was at right tackle. We know how that goes. And depending on where you look, Rahtrell Perry is listed as 6'5" to 6'7". So either way, pretty good size there. And he is a one-year starter at Central Connecticut, has been looking at other programs. And also, I know that everybody heard Central Connecticut State and pretty much checked out. I get it. You hear some schools and you go, all right, I don't want anything to do with that. You hear a school like Tulane and you think DJ Douglas and you start freaking out. You hear a school like Central Connecticut State and a lot of people will go, oh, small program, reminds me of the Ivy Leagues. And then you think of Jerry Slackman and how that didn't work out and you get soured on it. I get it. Rahtrell Perry is someone that has gotten a lot of interest from pretty big programs, right? I mean, Ohio State brought him in for a visit, right? Ohio State is interested in Rahtrell Perry. Ohio State's offensive line has generally been pretty freaking good, right? Like they have. I don't think I'm being facetious by saying that. Their offensive line's been pretty good for a long while. They put a lot of guys into the NFL. They are recruiting Rahtrell Perry, okay? So he is expected to visit campus this weekend. We'll see what happens as far as a visit goes, or as far as a commitment or true offer. We'll say true offer goes. But Rahtrell Perry is going to be on campus this weekend. And we're not going to talk about another guy with a visit right now. But there's another player that people messaged me about with offensive lineman out of Washington State. I am so sorry for trying to pronounce this name. I looked it up. I didn't see anything that was reliable on the pronunciation, but Faalele Faume. I think, I'm so sorry if I got that wrong. But multi-year starter as an offensive tackle at Washington State, all at right tackle. He's played over 1,700 snaps at right tackle. A lot of experience there because, again, 3-year starter. He's been there. Played at the Power 5 level when it was the Power 5. Washington State, part of the still existing but no longer Power Conference of the Pac-12. And Faalele, I feel more confident about the first name, so I'm calling him by his first name. Faalele has 1 year of eligibility remaining, so he's going to look for a place where he can be productive and play legitimate competition throughout. Because this year, honestly, he played a lot of Mountain West teams, and that's why, I look at Washington State and I go, okay, this is basically a Mountain West team because they play a lot of Mountain West teams. San Jose State, Boise State, Fresno State, Hawaii, San Diego State. They play a bunch of Mountain West teams. Utah State. You're basically playing a group of 5 schedule. It's really tough for me to look at that and say, yeah, that's NFL film. It's just one of those things where we talked about with Isaiah World from Nevada, with Brandon Crenshaw-Dixon last year out of San Diego State. It's just really tough to look at you play a group of 5 players and say, you're going to have no problem against the NFL. So what do these guys do, specifically in the group of 5? They come up to the SEC, and I do mean that they look generally to come to the SEC specifically, and then they try to dominate at that level, because if you could dominate at that level, you can likely at least succeed at the NFL level. And so that's how NFL teams are looking at you. And so Failili, again, I'm so sorry. I feel like I'm butchering it. I feel like I'm butchering it. He this year allowed just 12 pressures throughout the entire season, 2 sacks, didn't allow a sack after his 4th game, because they had like the weird bye weeks. So after his 4th game, didn't allow a sack, allowed 12 pressures, and that's how things worked out for him. Pretty damn good production. The year prior, allowed 27 pressures, so significant improvement there. Also on a per snap basis, got considerably better as well. So finally, in the portal, Florida Gators fans, I think they should look at him. I also think that Failili is one of the few people that has only played right tackle in the portal right now that we've talked about with the Florida Gators. And that is an important thing, where even with Rahtrell Perry, played a lot of left tackle there. So I feel like that's one of those things where if they're looking at these guys that are left tackles, maybe they are looking to move Austin Barber back to right tackle. Maybe they're looking to move these guys to right tackle. But if they're looking to keep Austin Barber at left tackle, Failili Faumo, again, I'm sorry, he's already a right tackle. Keep Austin there and then go. And the Florida Gators also set up a visit with UAB safety, so Alabama Birmingham safety, Adrian Maddox. It was announced last night that he'd be visiting this weekend. The highest graded player on UAB's defense, 6'3", 200 pounds, but the highest graded player on UAB's defense, if you care about that kind of stuff. I don't. And I know a lot of people think of me as like a PFF guy. I could not care less about PFF grades. They're nothing to me. Because in order to properly grade things, you need to know what the assignment was, right? Like, I can't grade your run defense if it looks like you missed your assignment, but I don't know what the assignment is. So it's tough stuff like that just I try to avoid it. But if we look at, most of the coverage stuff is pretty accurate. The pass rush stuff is fine. Like, their stats, fine, great, love them. Missed tackles, all that stuff, great. Their grades, I don't care for. So if you do care about grades, which they're kind of like recruiting rankings in the sense of they're generally good indicators, but they're not the be-all, end-all, then he's very good. Best player in UAB's defense, 6'3", 200 pounds. I'd assume they're looking at him at star. That's where he's played the majority of his snaps in his career. He's played 201 snaps this season, or he played 393 snaps this season. 201 of them were at star, so he's been there most of the time. Throughout his career, he's played almost 1,000 snaps at star. He's only played 1,500 snaps total. So I'd imagine, or he's played 1,000 snaps at nickel. And so I'd imagine that Florida's looking at him at the nickel. Zechariah Poyser was someone they were looking at out of Jacksonville State. They were looking at him as a nickel. They are clearly looking there to upgrade in the portal. They haven't been looking at many guys that they look at as true safeties, which questionable. I guess they're relying on the impact of true freshmen there, but that's what they're looking at. And then there's also linebacker Khmori House, who has, at the time of recording this, not set up a visit, but has been offered. Do-it-all kind of linebacker for Washington this past year. Just finished his true freshman year, so even if there wasn't production, we can go, hey, we write him off as extension of the recruiting class. However, there is production, right? He played 317 snaps this year for Washington, had 8 pressures on 53 rush attempts. Not a lot of blitzes to get that kind of pressure. Would be slightly less productive as a pass rusher than Jaden Robinson was this year, if that helps you. Had a pick this year earlier as well. Played all over the defensive formation for Washington, including like dropping back as a nickel on like a receiver in the slot. He's played all over the defensive formation. Great athlete. Florida offered him in the portal. We will see what happens with him, but he's the kind of young depth piece with versatility, right? You've got the rumors about will Shamar stay? Will Shamar go? We'll find out after the bowl game. You've got Deuce Spurlock left. Derek Wingo's gone. you've got potential to lose some more guys after this bowl game. And I do think that you'll see more of that with the early bowl games. UNLV lost a bunch of guys right after the bowl game. I think now a lot of NIL contracts have you must play in the bowl game with them, and I think that's part of it. So look at Khmori House, someone that Florida Gators could be looking at after the portal or after they know who's leaving them in the portal. But Florida, keep an eye on Khmori House with him. Again, great athlete, versatile player, would be a depth piece that you hope can develop into a starter over time, where you've got a really good linebacker room right now. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever it's in the podcast and on YouTube. We'll be back later on today after the bowl game against Tulane. Saying we'll be live right once the game ends. We will be live. Locked On Gators, I'm Brandon Olsen. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with New York Giants on SI, and I'll see you all next time.